It's Friday, January 23rd. Some people wanted me to give some quick takes on Davos, World Economic Forum. And that's what I'm going to do. This is not going to be a long video because I'm still looking at some of the things that happened at Davos. But first of all, IU, Indiana University, is number one. So just remember that in college football, one of the greatest comebacks in college football history, I believe, for a team. So let's do a Davos quick take. Number one, World Economic Forum is irrelevant, as important as ever. And we're going to continue to see it going on and may actually even move around the world at different places. Number two, what came out of Davos? It's very apparent we are seeing the errors of Russia. Russia's errors are present. And what that error is this breach of unity, this selfishness of nationalities or of countries, and this refusal to work with other people, this bellicosity, and so on and so forth. The errors of Russia, let me go back a little bit. When the United Nations, and it's not related to the World Economic Forum, but when the United Nations was formed in 1945 by America, there were five countries that were in the Security Council. These were the big five trustees, if you will, the big five powers that are responsible for keeping the peace in the world. Okay, these guys would vote on whether or not the world went to war or not. So the Soviet Union was included. The Soviet Union was run by Russians at the time, and Russia is still run by Russians today. So the Soviet Union was included, and you had four other countries. You had nationalist China, you had the UK, France, and of course the United States. Well, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good balance, four versus one. Of course, the Soviet Union was the stick in the wheel when the invasion of North Korea into South Korea occurred in 1950, a few years later. And of course, the Soviet Union was always hindering attempts at the world trying to address problems. The Soviet Union was always the troublemaker. They wanted to keep the veto power in the United Nations Security Council so that if they're the aggressor, they can veto any effort by the rest of the world to do anything. Well, the world got around that with UN General Assembly Resolution 377, which was a resolution for peace, as some people call it, where the General Assembly basically authorizes that there be force employed to bring peace. Okay, so the Soviet Union is the bad guy. They've always been the bad guy. Russia's the bad guy, always been the bad guy. So what happens is the errors of Russia went into China. China became communist, okay? And then by 1971, the People's Republic of China became a member of the UN Security Council, okay? So now it's 3-2. It's not 4-1 anymore. It's 3-2. And so you have all this mischief playing out until, of course, Trump is put in power here in the United States, put in power through the Russian machinations, Russian efforts. And I've talked about that elsewhere. And of course, it's very obvious now when he goes to Davos and he starts talking about this crazy nationalism, which is, which is very bellicose, and it is very confrontational, and it splits people apart. So this is the error of Russia, the errors of Russia that are now manifesting here in the World Economic Forum. But there's good news here. um, some reports say that Trump stole the show. Well, I think, a circus clown can steal the show, in the middle of a religious service, too. That doesn't necessarily mean it's good. So what you have Trump appearing really, really diminished, and really unhinged. I think of course, he made these incredibly false accusations, like he always does, about NATO and other organizations, and so he looked very weak, very demented. And what you had in Europe, and what I'm reading in a lot of message traffic online, is the nationalist parties are distancing themselves from him. So the other Russian-sponsored parties in the European countries are distancing themselves from him. So the world sees where nationalism leads. It leads to this insanity, this bellicosity, this revulsion. And a big part of Christianity, a big part of America has always been to work together. This is a natural inclination of people for unity. This is part of the natural law that there be unity, that we get together, we work together. And so what you're seeing here with Trump and error of Russia, you're seeing this bellicosity that comes out with these nationalist movements. So there's a backlash coming from there. I think President Zelenskyy handled him very well. He basically personalized the problem here. He said, Trump is Trump. He does not make any negative attack against America or the United States. He says, Trump is Trump. So that leads me into Newsom. Gavin Newsom was there, governor, of course, of California. I've not watched all of his speeches and all of his talks that he gave, but he made some very important points. Number one, basically, he represented America. America as we know America, as America is. We're here. We are against these bullies, these tyrants. We have been against them all throughout our history. And that's why he told the Europeans push back on Trump. And he pushes back on Trump. And Trump doesn't like it. So what he also did, too, was what Zelenskyy said, is he said, we've got problems with Trump and his regime. This is not America. This is an aberration, is what he's basically saying to the world. Trump and his regime, nationalist, Russian fueled and inspired and installed, is an aberration. So I think that Newsom was the big winner at Davos, and I think that he has really put himself on a very good footing to go further as a leader, and he's also presented America as really we're here. We're still here. Good America's here. America's always been good, but America's here. We just got this Caligula that's running the show for now. So let's go on to PM Carney, Trump meaning Caligula. He talks about a rupture. Well, Newsom reinforced that, but I think what's important here is Carney is reinforcing the principles that America has set forth and has always stood for. We're going to return to these once Caligula is gone, and these principles are sovereignty, multilateralism, human rights, and so it's this idea of working together for the good of all nations, and in the process helping each individual nation, each individual country. I think what we saw at the WEF at Davos was the limits of this crazy nationalism that the Russians are pushing, and what we are seeing are the principles and the ideas that America brought into the world for the benefit of the world, and we are seeing that America is good through Newsom and others. And so we're starting to see all of this starting to coalesce. And that's what we saw at Davos. That's my quick take. Talk to you later.